you. Hi. I've actually known Pat for a long time. Well, for me, our culture is anti-Pat to me.
Yeah,
to you guys, I know. In my head, it doesn't sound right. It's like, my mom's going to be like, I will finish you. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Honestly, it's just been such a pleasure just speaking to you the past couple of weeks and getting to know more about what you do. If I'm honest with you, I feel like I didn't know much about mental health as much as I feel like I should now, since talking to you and finding out about your organisation. So please could you introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Thank you very much. My full name is Patricia Obichukwu, and my full-time job is I'm international management consultant dealing with market access for agricultural produce coming from Africa and the quality assurance for supermarkets. My voluntary work part of my voluntary work is a charity we set up called Wellbeing Connect Services. It was actually set up 20 years ago. Now I'm going to 21 years ago out of my family experience. So we support children and families.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. And could you tell us what inspired you to start this? What was your experience that you would say brought you to this, if you can share in a nutshell?
In a nutshell, we all have dreams when we're growing up. And that's my second daughter there, Emma, the one that did the silly goat. Yeah. I have 4 children and 3 grandchildren now, expecting the 4th one soon.
Hey! Congratulations in the house. Mommy's letting the cat out of the bag today.
I'm praying.
Nice.
I'm praying.
You faith. She's got that faith. But
Anyway, so what is there is that I got married at the age of 23 and came to this country with my late husband. And like every young person, you have dreams and have hopes and plan your life, what you want to do. But what you never plan is what the life will bring. So mental health can happen to anybody. 1 in 4 adults suffer mental health, and 1 in 10 children suffer mental health. So it can be caused by loss of jobs, pressures and stress, and all of us cope with stress in different ways. And it can be biological issues or chemical imbalance in the brain that can cause mental health. So you never know what life will throw at you. And unfortunately, my late husband broke down mentally when he lost his job as a young engineer. And in Africa, we don't talk about mental health. It's a taboo. So that again affects the level of support people can actually get at the beginning to help them to recover. And if you don't access support initially, it can deteriorate. And then mostly for African Caribbean people, because of the prejudice in the system, it meant that majority of young black men and women only get into the system when they have crisis. And they are forced to get into the system through sectioning. So at that point, as a Christian, you are trying, nobody wants to have challenges, you're praying, but things are not going the way it's supposed to go, and you're not allowed to talk. From the background I came from, African, you don't talk about problems outside. You just have to contain it. that alone can cause you depression and mental health also, and you have children to look after. So it came to a point, and I found that the authorities were not really understanding what we are going through, and they couldn't give support that's culturally tailored to meeting our needs. And I had young children who were attending schools, and the church don't fully understand mental health, so the only thing they can do is to pray. But there is prayer, but there is action. The Bible made this clear. Prayer without action is dead. So, so I saw the two going in parallel lines. We all know that parallel lines don't meet. The church going in one line and the authorities going in the other line. So the church will be giving you the advice, and the authorities will be giving you different advice, and you end up not screaming, for help, because you still need help. Something has to converge to give you the support you need. And as a result, we, myself and one of the colleagues, actually developed this to start talking about the role of spirituality in mental health, because the mainstream don't talk about the role of spirituality in mental health. And the church don't talk about mental health.
That's right.
So the two has to meet somehow. So we developed this tool, which we use for training of professionals, and also use it to train the church to say that, listen, the two have to start talking. You understand? Because if you want to help somebody, you need to interact.
Definitely. Yeah. So can you explain, briefly, what this then tries to do?
Okay, what it tries to do is that we say that we look at a human being using the triadic paradigm, like the world. We have the body, the soul, and the spirit. Okay, but we also wanted it to be acceptable into the mainstream. And what we did, we said that yes, people may have physical issues, they may have psychosocial issues, but there are also spiritual issues. You cannot deny that if somebody from Africa or Caribbean is suffering mental health, and they are talking about hearing voices, they are talking about hearing the Holy Spirit, you said it's schizophrenia. Okay? If we are loud, my children always say I'm loud. So people from African origin, we are loud, especially those born outside this country. We are loud. And two women can be talking and you'll be hearing their voices over there. So that can be termed as aggression and mental health too. So you need to explain all that. So what we did is that we said, okay, look at human being as somebody with triadic needs. And we sort of group it that way. And we say, so if you look at that person have different needs. When you are doing needs assessment, you look at what is the need of that person, not what you think their needs are. Okay? That there are people with spiritual need. Whether they are atheists, whether they are Christians, whether they are Muslims, they have spiritual needs. And you cannot brush it aside. So we say, therefore, you need to have strategy to develop how to support them. That is the yellow bit. So looking at how to support those individuals after the assessment. And we also say that you need to look at the communities as a whole. What do you need to support that individual? You can't do it by yourself. The church can't do it by themselves. They need the medical model. Well, the medical model also need the faith community. So you need to look at individual needs, and then how do you help that individual? By also looking at who do you collaborate to help the individual effectively. So, and then that is the red one. Who will you collaborate with? We also identify that in life there are barriers to getting results. So it may be physical barrier, it may be prejudice, it may be ethical issues. There are those barriers that you need to identify. And that is why we put the green, looking at different things. It may be cultural barriers or belief system, you understand? And why are we doing that? The reason why we have to assess individuals differently and plan a strategy how to support them effectively is to ensure that there is choices for them, and there is that is the social justice, sharing, duty of care. We all have duty of care to each other. So these are why we developed this tool, and we use it to provide training. Actually, in my charity, we offer training and placement for social workers, students, social workers, and placement. So we've been training them on practical issues and things like
Give her a round of applause. It's amazing work. Amazing work. And I think they spent time developing a tool, guys, to help people understand cultures, which is huge. Differences in beliefs is a huge thing, and when you think about it, a lot of the time, a lot of care systems are very linear. It's very much like, okay, male, black, white. Like, it doesn't talk about the nuances within that of faith and cultural background. So for me, I think this is amazing work, and even the training is fantastic. So thank you so much. Thank you. Please give her a round of applause as well. Thank you. So bringing us to this point, we had a conversation a couple of weeks ago, maybe even 2 months ago, about your organisation and some of the difficulties that we have, you have, in terms of maintaining and getting support for the work you do. Could you just tell us maybe one specific issue that you guys have had, with getting?
One of the key challenges that's still facing mental health widely is that the children whose parents have got mental health issues don't get any support, adequate support. In the health system, it's issue of ticking boxes. They are not yet put in a box, except if they are primary carer. What we call primary carer is that the child is the immediate carer of the parents. So we found that most of these children are suffering. There was a typical example of one child at the age of 12. The mother was suffering depression. The child was not, the school didn't understand what was happening in the family. And the day the school excluded this child from school, the child came back. The mother was attempted suicide. And the child coming back from school to meet the police and everybody, you understand. Eventually, this child ended up joining gangs and ended up a very brilliant and handsome boy, but ended up in prison. You understand? Because there wasn't a proper support meant for them. For years, we've been acting as a voice. To be honest with you, at times it's so draining because you don't get the adequate funding. For years, we don't have funding for supporting the children because, as I said, they are not ticked box. So there is no provision for such children. And from time to time, we step out of our way because we deal with child protection issues. If a mental health patient have a child, it goes on that child protection register, and you need to support them going into the court and things like that. We are not funded to do those things, but we still need to do that. And you find that some of these children are being affected in school. At a time, in short, one particular borough, a child that was 9 years of age. The mother has mental health, the father has physical health. Eventually, the father died. The authority couldn't provide support, the funding to support this child. Eventually, the only thing they did is to shift the child away to another country, to the nearest family. And that is not resolving the issue. So these are the challenges we are facing. And we have a critical situation now with a family that we are looking for mentoring for this child, and the main person in the family is sick and they hospitalized. So a lot has been going on through this family. But the authorities say, oh, they should assess the already funded programs they have, which is not culturally sensitive and that will understand their needs, and they are Christians. They